Hello, I'm Chanel. This is Chanel Days, and today I am doing my Valentine's Day decks. So I've done a little hashtag VDay decks. I didn't see anything else come up for this hashtag. If it is, please let me know, but I didn't see anything. So if you want to participate in these prompts, feel free to use that hashtag. So this is just, some Valentine's Day deck prompts. So let's get straight into it. I apologize if it's dark. It's a very dark day here in Australia. So for the first prompt, it's your own Valentine. So it's basically the theme of people who spend Valentine's Day with themselves. You're your own date. And for this one, it's your current favorite deck. So for me, at the moment, I have gotten back into the Death Doula Oracle. So after pairing it with the Outlaw Oracle, it just reminded me of how much I really fucking love this deck. And it's just always makes me laugh that I almost got rid of it. Like I put it in my Persephone pile because I was just like, I don't get it. It doesn't work. This was very early into my deck journey and I was just using things as divinatory decks, and this one wasn't working for me in that way. Whereas now it is actually more of a self-care deck for me. It's, things, that doesn't go there. This is how I lose cards, guys, all the time. Chanel. I use it for like practices, self-nurturing practices. And because this book has all of it's got the little kind of divinatory meanings here or advice. I see it as more like advice for the day, but then it's got all of these ritual and practices. So I participate in those when I feel like I need to do something for myself today. But I freaking love this deck. So it's beautiful, matte cardstock, great quality. I love the photographic images. I love the titles of the cards. And like I said, it's just the creator has connected them to such wonderful practices and rituals that it's just a delight. It's a treat. It also goes with a lot of stuff, I find, this particular deck. I compare it with a lot of things. So the versatility is definitely fantastic. But yeah, it's just a favorite of mine. For a while, I think almost for like 8 months, I had it on my desk because I just wanted to use it all the time. I don't do that anymore, but that's why when I just suddenly brought it out for the Outlaw, I was like, hello, old friend. Fancy seeing you again. And I've kept it out a bit longer. I was like, I'm not ready to put you away just yet. I will play with you a little longer. So yeah, for your own Valentine, it's the Death Doula Oracle. My next prompt is Galentines. So Galentines is normally celebrated the day before Valentine's Day, and it's when you go out with your friends, your girlfriends, which is why they call it Galentines. So for that prompt, I have chosen something that's fun because Galentines is fun. Spending this year, actually, I am spending, this is the Witch Cat's Oracle, by the way, that's my choice. I am actually spending Valentine's Day because it's the first Valentine's Day since getting divorced that my ex-husband is actually having the kids on V-Day. So I have Valentine's Day free. So I'm taking 2 of my girlfriends out who are also both single, and we're going to be each other's dates. We're having a little, threesome V-Day dinner. And yeah, Galentine's Day is fun. So this prompt is a fun deck, and Witch Cats is a fun deck for me. All of us all of my friends and I are all cat ladies. So I wanted to choose a cat deck to also represent that. And this is a very pretty, feminine, floral, magical, mystical, loving companion deck. So I always view these cats as familiars for me. And I think your best friends in a way are your familiars, aren't you? Like you're each other's support system and you bring out the best in each other and you enhance each other's, strengths, and you support each other through your weaknesses. So this deck sort of epitomizes that for me. And the fact that the messages on the back are just so lovely. They're so nurturing and supportive that I thought this was the best pick to epitomize Galentine's Day for me. So it is the Witch Cat's Oracle. So the next prompt is the Lover. And that's kind of like pretty much, the Valentine's Day that you spend with your lover. And so for that one, I'm thinking romantic, sexy, erotic, anything to do with that kind of, relationship. And for me, that is the Tarot Erotic. Is this on the nose? Yes, it is. But this is probably my sexiest deck. Look, warning guys, this is full frontal nudity and graphic. Like pretty sure all of these images were sourced from porn. But it is fun, it's flirty, it's sexy, it's cheeky, it's frisky, and so horny, baby, yeah. So that's this is definitely one I would, I'll probably play with my partner with this deck. It's not one I would just whip out for anybody. Like I said, it's in your face. But yeah, I would definitely, do tarot with my partner with this one. Hey, and you can be like, all right, after we pull a card, let's do the act that's depicted on the picture, on the image. Let's have a play. But yeah, it's also very playful. It's just really fun. I really like it. It reads really well. It's not very serious, but I've always enjoyed my readings with this deck. I do like the write-ups as well. I think they're well done. The guidebook for this is a lot bigger, so I keep them separately because I just kept this in the little velvet pouch it came in its own bag, and I think it wanted to stay in its own bag. I just love the similar ones, which is a building of penises. But yeah, I'm always in a good mood after this deck. It just cheers me up. It's just so naughty and a good time. It's a good time deck, and hopefully your lover is also a good time. So this was my pick for the lover prompt. So for my next prompt, I chose Wedding Day, Valentine's Day. So people like to get married on Valentine's Day, and therefore my meaning for this is a deck that's very cliche, like maybe it's very on the nose thematically, or a deck that's very popular. Something that's super popular with everybody. And for me, I've chosen the Tarot of Aphrodite. So I feel like it feels like both of those prompts. It's very cliche for, like, say, a Valentine's deck. Aphrodite is associated with Valentine's, and it's so heavily themed, with the pink and the femininity of it. It's got beautiful rose gold edges. I just love those. It's also, I think, quite a popular deck. I saw a lot of people gravitate towards this one. Look, I am low-key salty, though, that the creator did release a second edition within like a few months of the first, and the second edition is more appealing to me than this one. So the second edition actually has a guidebook with written up meanings rather than just the art references, and it's also got smaller borders and some different images. And what can you do? It's like, well, no, I've bought this one. I'm just going to keep this one. But, had I known, I would have waited for the second. But anyway, putting that aside. So this deck is filled with, I never know. Look, I don't know art, guys. I want to say Renaissance or Romantic, or I don't know what kind of classical art style this is. But it's got, curated art images, and it's, like I said, it's all on the pink. It's so very pink, but I think it works. I find that it works for the deck. It's a beautiful matte cardstock. It's really lovely. I haven't used this a hell of a lot, though, I'll be honest with you, and that's because I find that stylistically it doesn't really pair with many decks, so I haven't found like its bonded mate. So I do still tend to use this just on its own. And because also it doesn't have a guidebook, this is a purely intuitive read for me, and I have to use my own knowledge of the tarot rather than, picking up messages too from the creator's nuanced interpretation of the meanings. But I did really love this. I only have this deck in my hands thanks to Rochelle, because they wouldn't ship to Australia. So Rochelle got it shipped to her and then shipped it to me. So it's only through her generosity that I even have this deck. But it really is lovely, and it does feel very Aphrodite to me. So on theme, it's just on point. And I feel like if you were going to a hen's party, this could be a deck that you could bring, a lot of hens, unless it's a raucous, raunchy hens party, and in that case maybe the Tarot Erotic is a better selection. But otherwise, if it's a classy shindig, then I think this would be a great deck to also bring to that kind of funness. But yes, this was my choice for the Wedding Day deck. My next one is a love spell. So I feel like Valentine's Day is the kind of pinnacle day of perhaps performing love spells, and so for that the prompt is a magical deck or a witchy deck, so something along those lines. And so I have chosen the Magical Botanical Oracle because this is just hella witchy. Like, look at those backs. Does that not scream witch aesthetic? I edged mine in black because this is a very black deck. It uses the art style of mostly black and white images. However, there are a few that have pops of color, which I think works to outstanding effect. I just love the art style on this. I know it's quite intricate and ornate, and there's multiple components on them. Font, text, everything's just done to extravagance, but I love it. It's definitely more of a maximalist art style, but I just think it works. But it's just also so witchy. It's definitely my most witchy plant deck. The only gripe I ever have with this is just there's not enough cards. I wanted more. but I absolutely adore it. I think it's fantastic the way it's written up. Stellar, very well done. But this is definitely one I go to if I perhaps want to do more herb, or what's the word, green witch kind of things. If I want to, tap into the magical properties of plants, this is definitely the deck that I go to for that. But this deck also is one of those decks that's quite versatile. I've used it with a lot of different things. But I think it's fantastic, and it's a mass market deck, so like freaking amazing. And for a mass market cardstock, it's like decent. It's matte, it's quite thick though, but like for a mass market cardstock, I quite like it. But yeah, I just think it's just so beautiful as well. And it's got this just, I can't find the word, not hedonistic, but this opulent kind of feel. Like I almost get like opium den vibes too from it. I don't know why, but I just do. I think of the hookah smoking caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. I think he would like this deck. But yes, this was my choice for Love Spell. So the next prompt is pets and kids. So this is just spending Valentine's with your pets or with your kids. I've never really had partners that planned anything for Valentine's Day. So before I had children, I would lavish my pets and my best friends, my girlfriends, or after having kids, I treat them on Valentine's Day. They're my Valentines. So for this one, it's animal decks or inner child decks. And because I already did a cat deck, I've gone for an inner child deck. And this one is creative consciousness healing. So I did not do a bag for this one. I just don't know why. Sometimes I just don't want to do bags for some decks. It just is that way, but I might eventually. We'll see. So these are the bags, which are, they're okay. There's other images there that I think this creator had that are prettier. So I edged mine in a pink. It's a lot of like moody purples and pinks, and then a few turquoises and teals in this one. So beautiful coloring. This is such a sweet deck. So it's also got an almost shroom kind of energy to it. So yes, look at what's the surface, but really what's going on underneath. Let's dive deep and really explore those roots and that network and get to the cause of things and untangle all of those intricate webs and heal. So this is a very healing, nurturing, loving, comforting deck. So in the guidebook, you've got key concepts. So this is nervous system calming. So it's very much about like the self-care, but like really deep self-care. And then you've got a visualization and a prompt. So it's got like the activities that you can do that go with whatever that card is dealing with. So this is like boundary cloak, create gentle loving protection. So about implementing boundaries and protecting your energy and your personal sphere. So it's definitely more like, I'd say, a working deck in that it's got a specific purpose. So like, don't use this for divination. This is when I want to do some, like I said, healing, personal work, energy work, trauma kind of stuff. And I want to actually sink into it and do something, not just read some words, like actively participate in that activity and in like soothing that issue, like smoothing it out, working out the kinks and the knots. But yeah, this is a beautiful deck. I was unsure about this when I first got it because I thought, okay, once I've like worked with it a lot, what's the point in having it? But I'm like, Chanel, woman, you're never finished on your healing journey. You're never going to not be doing, shadow work and inner work. Like, you're a human being that's constantly evolving and growing, and it's not going to be just smooth sailing onwards and upwards all the time. Things are going to come up, issues are going to come up, and you're going to have to work through them. So have these decks on hand that are like my so-called like they're medicine decks, that have that purpose to help you through those times. So I'm glad I kept it. And this is the Creative Consciousness Healing, and I chose it for the pets and kids. So the next prompt is the breakup prompt, because sometimes you do end up breaking up on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day isn't sometimes all like roses and champagne for people that are in romantic pairing. So for me, this is a deck that isn't working for you at this point in time. And for me, it is the Tantric Dakini Oracle. So you would have seen me mention this in my monthly wrap up. I just don't know about the longevity of this deck. It's just something that I just don't feel like I enjoyed pairing with other decks. I don't use it for divination. I find it works best when you use it in that tree of life thing where each card is associated with a different organ and therefore has a different meaning, or a one card spread literally. But I found, I don't know, not that it was unsatisfactory, but it was just a bit meh. Like every reading I did was a bit mediocre, and sometimes I felt the need to go and do further research elsewhere. Like I would look up whatever the topic was on the internet, and I don't want to have to do that with the deck. It feels too much like study. And so maybe this is a great study deck, but I'm just not in that space at this point in time where I want a study deck. And like I said, some of the images I really like, some of them I really don't at all. So this is one of those decks that is going into my Persephone pile at the moment, just because like I'm still at that at a point where I don't just want to keep decks in my collection that I'm not using, or not only keeping because I think like they're stunning, say very limited edition indie decks, whereas this is a mass market deck. So I just don't feel the need to just hold on to it just in case. I'm still trying to keep my collection in terms of physical space that it takes up limited. Obviously when my kids move out way in the future, because I don't know anybody else who has children these days, but I just don't see them being able to leave home for quite a long time. So maybe in the future when I've got all that extra space, you know, I can do that with decks. But at the moment I'm like, I'll just pass it on to somebody else who's actually going to use it. So that's why I've chosen the Tantric Dakini Oracle for the Breakup. Okay, the next one is a Matchmaker. Look, if that was a legitimate job, I would love to be a matchmaker. And pair people up who I think would work well together. I'm such a Cupid in that way. I love love, and I love if I can lead two people to love with each other. So for this one, it is your favorite pairing, your favorite matchup. So at the moment for me, it's Brit's Third Eye Tarot and the Inner Ecology. I absolutely fell in love with this pairing. I just thought these two dudes just look really fantastic together, first of all, but they also just, I'll put it to the side. They also just pair, they talk to each other, they just sing together. And it makes you so happy when you have a pairing that's just like, oh my God, guys. Like the way that it just expands upon each other's meanings is phenomenal. I had the absolute best time with this pair, and I'm still playing with them right now. So I didn't stop playing with them. It was like, I haven't had enough time with you two. We need to spend a bit more time together. So I haven't moved on from, I love the meanings, from the two of them. And it's just a joy. I think when you find a bonded pair, because this is definitely a bonded pair for me now. I don't know if I can use them with any other decks. Honestly, I'm kind of precious about these two, like just being in a monogamous relationship. You know, they're bonded mates. You know, it's touch her and you die kind of situation. Like we've only got eyes for each other. But that being said, I find both of them really versatile, but especially the Inner Ecology. It just goes with so much stuff. I can just pair it with dozens and dozens of decks. So it's got just wonderful versatility in that aspect. But it's so funny because thematically, I find Brit's Third Eye is a bit more mystical, almost cosmic, almost storybook, fantastical in its energy, whereas Inner Ecology is very earth-based. But I guess, you know, the imagery is interesting enough that they kind of vibe. But yeah, you would think this more cosmic, this more earthly deck wouldn't get along well together, but they do, even though this is very plant-based and this is very psychology-based. They bounce really well off each other. That's amazing. I could just sit here all day and play. It's one of those decks where you just like, you end up running out of like questions to ask it. You play with it to death and you're like, oh, there's nothing else I can do right now, but I'm just going to sit here and just look at the pairings together and just be like, oh, how does temperance and migration work? Yeah, well, I just love it. I love it. Already I'm like getting a million thoughts running through my head. So it can just be just like sitting there and just almost playing that game, that creative prompt, like creative writing game where you would, the teacher would give you like a sentence or two things. It's like write a story featuring these two things. And so I just do that kind of game where, you know, I'm just like, okay, Queen of Cups and climate, you know, like what does that mean to me? But yes, I could do this all day. I literally could go through the entire deck all day, but I won't because, you know, we don't want to have a 10-hour long video, but freaking love these two. These were definitely my favorite pairing. And that's why I chose them for the Matchmaker, make me a match prompt. The next prompt I have is the anti-Valentine, because there are those people that really hate Valentine's Day. And look, I get not liking the consumerism portion of it, but you can celebrate a day of love without opting into the consumerism part. You can just show love to others and do acts of service for people and that kind of shebang. But for the anti-Valentine, it's a deck that's not popular, so that not many people have, that doesn't do the rounds, that is not really seen in the tarot sphere, I guess. Like I think other people also call them like your underrated decks. So that kind of thing. So for that, I've chosen the Sensual Seed, because I don't think I've seen it on anyone else's channel ever. So this is a square deck. It is an indie deck. It's on glossy cardstock, which might be a deterrent, and people don't like that. And it's also a square. And it's very much like a self-love, self-compassion, sensuality themed deck. So you've got like the keyword up the top, and then you'll get some sentences down there. The guidebook is also really fantastic. As you can see, like there's 2 whole pages. It's a very nurturing deck. It's a very what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's body and sexuality focused, but it's about really loving yourself, flaws and all, and improving the connection you have, not just to your body, but also, like I said, to your sexuality and sensuality. It's a very, it's a safe space deck for me. And I think it's a great way to explore those things. Like people do have like triggers in certain ways. I think this is a great deck to work through those with, in a very, like I said, safe, loving sphere, with words that not only supportive, but do actually touch upon like maybe what could be some issues you might have in that area, and how you can, work through them and overcome them and grow through them. But yeah, it's a deck that I do, once again, I kind of use more like as medicine, but sometimes I can just use it as a surface level deck, and just if I don't want to get into, like, say, the guidebook, like I'll just use the keyword in this kind of affirmation-esque sentence, on the front. Like, for instance, it's awareness. Allow yourself to become more aware. Infinite joy awaits you. Like, they're very positive and uplifting. You can just do those. But yeah, some of them are a little bit, a little cheeky. This can be a bit of a little cheeky deck. Like you saw a lot of bums and boobs. So I also like that as well, because I love the female form. So this is very appealing to me. And that's why I've also picked it for, and so this is my choice for the anti-Valentine. My next prompt is send a Valentine, because I know I think it's a very popular thing in America in schools. You send people Valentine's things on Valentine's Day. It's not as popular here in Australia, like the sending Valentine's cards and that kind of thing. I've done it every now and again, written love letters for my friends and family and sent it to them. But for this prompt, it's a deck that you would give to others. So, what would you send to someone? You can decide who that someone would be. So for me, I have chosen Rochelle's, or Amethyst Ascension's, Love of Spreads. I believe that's what it's called. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. Oracle, because this is just really usable. This is really practical. I can be a very practical person. I love gift giving, and sometimes I'll do some kind of very romantic, gesture, but sometimes I'm a practical bitch, and I will send you something that you need and that you can use in your life that will make your life easier and better. And this is one of those decks. Like, I find it so simple that when I want to do a spread, I can just literally just pull one out. Or on the full moon and new moon ones, I no longer have to go to Pinterest and do a search, because they're all in here. So I find this really beneficial to my practice. It's ease of use. And I think in this day and age too, we're beings of convenience. The less obstacles there are to do something, the more likely we are to do it. We're not going to put it off. There'll be less avoidant of it. So this just, that makes it so much easier to also pull cards if you just don't know what to do today and you just don't have the brain power or the energy to figure out what you should do with your card practice that day. This takes, all of that difficulty out of the equation and makes it very simple. So this is the deck that I have chosen for my Send a Valentine deck. Okay, for my final prompt, feel free to add your own as always as well, guys, and do whatever you like. This is the V-Day lingerie prompt. I am obsessed. Lingerie is a guilty pleasure of mine, really fancy top-notch shit that costs an arm and a leg. Some of my favorites are probably Honey Birdette, Agent Provocateur, La Perla, you know, the ridiculous stuff. But every now and again, I might treat myself. And that's what has inspired this prompt. It's like a deck that you treated yourself to that's a bit luxury, or that was a bit of a splurge, you know, that was a bit pricey, or it's high end, you know, it's fancy, guys. So for me, that is the Moon Witch Flower and Feelings Oracle. So I did not do a box for this because I freaking love this box. I mean, I didn't do a bag for this. Apologies. This, look at that, man. Obsessed. Just obsessed with the dark cottagecore fabulousness of it. So that's the guidebook, which is, like the quality, like beautiful. It's beautiful, darling. It's glossy. It's colorful. It's well written. It's fabulous. So the cards, I am frothing over these. These speak to me. I love the dark cottagecore vibe, and it's got the bling. It's got the gold foiling with the stars and the moon, and just I'm dying over this. It's got the glittery matte gold edges, which are beautiful. It's that thick satin cardstock, which, going to be honest, is not my favorite. Like, it's not the best for shuffling. It does hold up though, so it holds up well. And it's super colorful, like Valentine's Day, am I right? Whether that's like you and yourself, or you and somebody else, or you and multiple others. Get the feeling on, guys. So this is very pretty. It's very beautiful. It's got a lot of flora and fauna in it, which I like, speaks to me. So it's got like that nature kind of energy. It's flowers and feelings, obviously, but it's also paired with these figures. I know that it's not going to be to everyone's cup of tea. These figures are faceless, but I kind of almost prefer that in a way. Each card has its own color scheme as well. I feel like they're more on the darker tones, although some are a bit pastel. But I haven't used this deck a whole lot. Once again, it's one of those decks I don't feel like it doesn't pair with a lot of things because there's such a breadth of different color schemes in it. But I'm really happy with it. I really like this creator's work. I'm always impressed with the quality of it. I like the themes that are in this one. Like I said, if you don't want to go into the guidebook, it's got a little sentence there on the front, which, you know, is enough. There are goddesses, I think, in this as well, which is cool. So it definitely has a bit of a yin, feminine kind of energy to it. It's also very nurturing. I have a lot of decks that are that kind of mothering sort of energy, or sisterly, or friend, you know, where it's safe spaces that you can lick your wounds and heal from and emerge, you know, stronger and more wizened. But yeah, it's also kind of sexy because I also wanted, you know, for a lingerie, my lingerie prompt to have a bit of sexiness. And like, look, all these naked ladies. I have so many decks of naked ladies, and I am not sorry for it. But yeah, it's also something that I don't bring out all the time, you know, just like my top-notch lingerie. Normally that is a special occasion sort of situation. But if it's been too long since there's been a special occasion, I'll just make it a goddamn special occasion. You know, I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to wear my, you know, garter belts and, you know, sheer lace with chains attached lingerie under this outfit to do the shopping with. Like, screw it. Like, it's these babies have to be worn. I'm very much if you've got it, wear it, you know, don't leave it languishing in your closet kind of person. And so, like, you know, I'm going to probably play with this deck today, give it some love and attention. So that was my final choice for my V-Day lingerie. So feel free to join in if you guys want. But happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I'm sending you love. We're all each other's Valentines on here. You know, that's the wonderful thing about an online community. You're not alone. We are together. I'm your Valentines. You are mine. And I'm sending you a lot of love. Until next time, stay wild, star child.